John Doyle from Optics EQ, and I'm going to preview the 8th race on opening day at Keeneland Friday, October the 4th. It's the Phoenix, a Grade 2 race, and just looking at this race, you get the feeling that Breeders' Cup is right around the corner, so this is a good one. A lot of nice horses in this race, 6 furlongs on the dirt. I'm going to start off with the plot fit. It's green. That's our indicator that the plot looks viable. You can see all the horses that are underneath the shaded area. They kind of fit that rectangle. They don't really change spots too much from standard to surface and distance, so it looks good. So we're going to just go right in and dig right into this. Let's start with the early pace runners. The contention in this race, you can see up above, the shaded area says a flame. That means it's going to be hot. You have 5 horses that share the same run style early presser. That's the 2, 4, 7, 9, and 10. And I would tell you, and I'm going to see a little bit more later, that most of those horses are more E than P, okay? So that's going to even just add to the mix. Under the plot, you can see the vertical shading on the early. You see the 1, 4, 2, 9, 7, 10. And so you could just visually see there's going to be a lot of early pace going on there. As far as the number 10, if you start below, he looks like a toss for me. He's well below on the y-axis, and he's also a circle. So, that's horses toss. The 2, another horse that I'm not particularly keen on, just looking at the plot, big circle. Unless there's something in his current form that kind of indicates something else, he doesn't look good in terms of his early pace matchup. The 9 is kind of on the cusp. I would take another look at him, but just looking at this, I would say the 4 and the 7 look the strongest. The 1 I'm going to park a little bit later. He's really a presser closer. He doesn't fit the EP necessarily, so I'm going to move him to that discussion later on. So that leaves us really with the 4 and 7. Those horses are both squares. They're probably going to take the most money. They're the most viable early pace types, recruiting ready and promises fulfilled. Let's just look at their form a little bit. What I did is I filtered on Optics Grid, just looking at the races where they either finished first or second, and you could see they both really want to be forwardly placed. You see under the blue shading, you see a bunch of 1s. So the first call, these horses are generally in front. Well, something's going to have to give today, right? Because one of them is not going to be in front. And it looks to me, when you look at the start, Promises Phil has a little bit better gate speed, than Recruiting Ready. So that means he's thrown outside. That's going to force Recruiting Ready's hand to either press from the inside, or go for the lead from the inside, or try to take a round. With the other speed drawn outside in a crowded field, that's going to be difficult. So Recruiting Ready is going to kind of be up against it, unless, again, something happens where one of these horses doesn't break and one of them can find themselves all alone on the lead. If that's not the case, we're going to be looking for off the pace, because both these runners are quality horses and they're going to take money. So we're going to start our analysis with horses off the pace. So let's look at the mid-pack horses. We start with number 11, a toss. You see he's red on the RPM. What does that mean? Is that his run style isn't matched the way he plots. He's well below on the y-axis. He's a big circle. Pressers need to have some kind of finish ability, and he doesn't have it. Let's go to the number 1, who we parked before, American Pastime, because he was in early. He's possibly can sit the right trip drafting in the inside behind the early speed. And he's got some quality. 2 years ago, he finished 4th in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. So that was a pretty good field. He showed some ability, when he ran a big race at Parks just before the Breeders' Cup, and he came back in the Breeders' Cup and ran another good race. Then he was kind of laid off. He had multiple layoffs. It just seems like he's kind of getting back into himself right now. This is his 3rd race off a layoff. He's got improving numbers in the last 2 races. He was against the flow last race. If this horse can continue to improve, we know he's got back class to compete here, and he's a big price, and he just could get the right trip behind the early speed and maybe get first run on some of these others. So American Pastime is a horse we want to consider. The other horse that looks like he would probably sit the right off the pace trip is the number 3, Whitmore. But you see we got shaded in red. We're not so sure that Whitmore maybe hasn't seen his better days. Maybe they're refreshing him. He's got a 119-day layoff he's coming off of. But I don't know if we want him coming off that kind of form and bet with confidence with him. You see his declining Optics Figs and OptixNOTES grades. and finishes. Just maybe last year took its toll finally on the veteran. Don't know, but we have to take a stand somewhere, and we're going to take it with Whitmore. We're going to be against him in this situation, even though he plots well and he could bounce back. The number 5 Diamond Oops. This horse is just kind of in career form. He ran huge in the Smile, then he came right back in the Vanderbilt and ran a bang up second. Tremendous effort, biggest figure this horse has ever run. So he's kind of paired 2 big figures, and now he's got a 69-day layoff. Maybe he's peaked, maybe there's some regression, but again, he looks well on the plot. Should sit the right trip. Leparoux knows how to come up from off the pace at this track. Keeneland, this is one of he's very experienced over this track, but that's again, it's going to be about price and so forth. He's viable. Just a little concerned that there might be some regression off his last big effort. The next horse is Engage. This is another horse kind of like the one. He's got some back class as a 3-year-old, showed a lot of promise. 4th in the Alan Jerkins, a grade 1, 4th in the same race that American Pastime was 2nd, and he had traffic, and we projected that he would improve off of that race, and then a 300-day layoff. Since then, he's come back. A little traffic in his debut. Then he improved a little bit in Parks. This is his 3rd layoff for Asmussen, another horse that may be projecting to improve. It's got the back class. So him and the 1 and the 8 are good prices and are viable horses in a race that looks very contentious. Just want to finish it up with the closers. And, the main closer in this race is Hog Creek Hustle. And he's a nice horse. He's in great form. He's just run 2 bang-up races. His last, he was benefited, looked like, from a bias, an outside flow at Saratoga. It also looks like to me that 7 furlongs is his best distance. So he's now cutting back to 6. Again, he's another horse that might show a little regression. But with this race flow, you have to consider this horse has a big kick, and like him a little bit more for underneath, but I wouldn't discount him if you're playing multi-race wagers. Okay, so that's it. This has been the Phoenix. It's a grade 2. Looks like a contentious pace. I'm going to start my analysis. I'm going to start my decision making with the off-pace runners. Take a look at their prices. Do a little bit more handicapping, and then go from there. So good luck, and see you soon.